Lilah Roloff, a family's heartbreak. Tonight, we come together with words we never wanted to say out loud. Lilah Roloff is no more. A sentence that feels unpronounceable, a truth that feels impossible. The Roloff family, beloved, familiar, woven into countless living rooms, faces a heartbreaking loss. Lilah Roloff. A name that carried a little bell of laughter, the weightless joy of childhood, the small miracles we forget to notice until they're gone. Pause. Let the silence stand. If you are hearing this, you may be reaching for answers or for solace or simply for the sound of another steady voice in the dark. I can't promise answers, I can only promise honesty, reverence, and time. Time to sit with grief. Time to honor a life measured not by years but by light. You know the Roloff family. You've met them on the screen and, in a way, in your heart. Zach and Tori, their children, their journey mapped in the chalk outline of ordinary days that television somehow turned into extraordinary companionship. Through that window, many of us watched Lilah grow. Her shy glance, her brave smile, her strange little songs that made no sense and yet said everything. We rooted for first steps and first words, and we learned again that the human story is most incredible when it's small and true. And now we are here. The sentence no family wants to say. At the intersection where gratitude meets grief, and both stand silent, staring at the traffic light that never seems to change. Before we speak of loss, we speak of life. Before we say goodbye, we say thank you. And before we ask why, we hold one another and say, I am here. Tonight I will hold the space. I will speak as a host, yes, but also as a witness, someone who saw what you saw, felt what you felt, and who now shares with you the work of remembering. This is not a news bulletin. This is not a headline. This is a vigil made of words. Picture the smallest sock you've ever folded, the tiniest bow you've ever tied. A morning where the sun lands perfectly on the kitchen table, and a toddler's laughter chases dust motes like fireflies. That was Lilah's signature. Sun on wood, laughter on glass, and the fragile confetti of an ordinary day suddenly made magical. We remember, the way she clung to a favorite plush, the way she squinted when she smiled big, as if her face couldn't contain all the brightness at once. She was a sparkler on a warm evening, brief in our hands, infinite in our eyes. And somehow, through a camera lens, that sparkler lit 1,000 rooms. She arrived on screen and many of us thought, oh, that's what hope looks like with pigtails. That's what courage sounds like when it still mispronounces half the alphabet. No fame, no followers, no format can explain why some children rearrange our hearts. But Lilah did. Not because we claimed her, but because we recognized something of our own beginnings in her. She was, and remains, a small reminder that life is most itself in the simplest things. A cup of milk, a new word, a hand reaching for another hand without asking who that hand belongs to. Tonight we speak this truth plainly. The Roloff family is grieving. Zach and Tori, siblings, grandparents, a circle of love that grew because that's what love does, it multiplies. They are not characters. They are parents. And this is not content. This is a wound. When a family invites the world into their story, the walls of their home must become both shelter and stage. The miracle and the paradox of the Roloff home was that it stayed, somehow, a home. We saw holidays and hiccups, birthdays and big decisions, small victories tucked into the pantry next to the cereal boxes. We saw what it means to keep showing up, to wash dishes after long days, to laugh because the alternative is to break. If you ever felt you were part of the family, know this, you were seeing a real family, imperfect and extraordinary in their humanness. You were seeing two parents who did the thing parents are never quite ready for. They handed their hearts to their children and said, "Here, hold it carefully." And one of those small heart holders was named Lilah. In her presence, routines turned into rituals. Hair brushing became a crown ceremony. A nap became a truce between tiny defiance and big love. Dinners were not meals, they were round-table summits in the grand council of growth. Every small concession, every small celebration was a brick in the house that love built. And now the house stands in a wind no blueprint can anticipate. Grief pushes at the windows. It rattles the doors. It asks over and over, how can a house be a home when a room is suddenly empty? We do not answer quickly. We answer slowly, with casseroles and quiet, with the passing of days that refuse to hurry but promise not to stop. We answer with candlelight, with stories, with the gentle, persistent work of remembering without unraveling. There is a sound to absence. It is not silence, it is a shape of silence, the echo of a footstep that doesn't come, the soft drip of a faucet you forgot to turn all the way off because your mind is elsewhere, on a land where lullabies still play. Parents know this sound, all who have loved and lost know it too. If you are listening tonight and holding your own absence in your hands like a fragile bowl, let me say what cannot be said often enough. Your grief is not too heavy. Your tears are not too much. Your love did not fail. Love never fails, it suffers. It stretches. It remains. And sometimes it sits down at the base of the bed and says, I'll be here when you wake, and I'll be here if you can't. The Roloff family will have 1,000 such moments. Mornings that start bravely and unravel at the sight of a sweater still smelling faintly of shampoo. Afternoons that hold together until a certain cartoon theme song plays. Nights that last longer than necessary because the dark is honest and the dark is kind. It makes room for tears. We honor those moments tonight. We do not rush them, do not tidy them up with easy phrases. We let them be. 'Cause grief is a guest that rearranges the furniture and takes the longest route home. It does its work, inconveniently and thoroughly. It asks us to walk with it, not around it. And still, there is the memory. A lifeline. A soft shawl. The story we tell and retell until it becomes a staircase sturdy enough to carry us into tomorrow. You, watchers, readers, neighbors in spirit, are part of this story. You sent messages, you lit candles, you scrolled to the end of posts hoping to find a miracle hidden in the comments. You whispered prayers across time zones and fired off texts that began with, I don't have words, but...
It matters. It all matters more than you think. Because if a family is a circle, a community is a widening ring around that circle, a buffer of warmth in the cold weather of sorrow. The Roloffs will not see every message, cannot read every note, but they will feel the weather change. That is what love does at scale. It changes the weather. And the weather will change again. Rain, sun. Long gray days that ask for patience. Sudden golden hours that feel like permission to smile without apology. The circle widens, the circle holds. Sometimes someone will ask the question we are all circling. How do you go on? It's a fair question. The answer is not a sentence, it's a practice. You go on by putting one plate on the table, one fork next to it, one glass of water. You go on by taking one breath on purpose. You go on by speaking one story out loud, the one about the trip to the park or the lost shoe that turned up in the pantry, or the way Lilah said, actually, with such conviction that it turned adults into students. You go on by making room for laughter that arrives like a stray cat. Uninvited, skittish, but determined to curl up on your lap anyway. You go on by forgiving yourself for the days when you cannot go on. Those days, the circle carries you. Let's paint a portrait together, not of what we have lost, but of who we were given. Close your eyes if you can. See her. See the tilt of her head, the way she stares down a new idea as if it owes her an explanation. Hear her tiny syllables, marshmallows of sound, stacking themselves into sentences when no one is watching. Feel the soft insistence of her hand taking yours, tugging you toward a mystery you had forgotten how to investigate. The mystery of mud and ants, and why the big spoon is better for little mouths. See a family gathered on a couch, an ordinary couch, the kind that knows every contour of their days. See a father's arm around a mother's shoulders. See laughter rise like steam from a tea kettle. See exhaustion transformed into devotion, the alchemy only parents understand. And there, see her. Not as a symbol, not as a story, but as a child who made space for love simply by needing it. Portraits are not made of lines, they're made of layers. A dab of yellow here, a shadow there. The Roloff portrait is layered with bravery, humility, and the gentle stubbornness of people who keep choosing one another. Lilah's layer is luminous. It does not fade because it is gone from view. It remains because it was truly there. We will not pretend the questions are easy. Why now? Why her? Why them? The questions come to the door and refuse to leave their shoes outside. They track mud across the rug. They sit in your chair and stare at you until you either speak or leave the room. Here is what we can do with questions. We can let them sit without putting them in charge. We can light a candle and invite them to share the quiet rather than shatter it. We can say, "I do not know," and let that sentence be less a failure and more a brave boundary. Some questions will be answered in time, by memory, by meaning, by the delicate loom of community that weaves sense out of sorrow. Some will not. And still, there will be love enough to carry us. If you are a friend of the family, offer presence, not solutions. If you are part of the extended circle, offer gentleness, not speculation. If you are a stranger moved by the story, offer respect, not curiosity masquerading as care. The difference matters. Grief knows the difference. When a life ends, we take inventory. What remains? What endures? The answer is not complicated, but it is immense. What endures is the way Lilah changed the temperature of a room, the way she renamed the afternoon Adventure O'Clock, the way her existence asked us to slow down and notice the miracle of a postage stamp, the nobility of a ladybug, the economy of a puddle that becomes an ocean at